Okay, for this question we've been given an isometric view of a solid shape, and they have asked us here to go and draw the full sectional front view referring to the isometric auxiliary view, which is this view down here. So they want you to go and cut this shape straight through the middle and then draw a sectional front view. Since this is third angle orthographic, you would have to draw that front view over here. And then they want just a normal outside top view as well as a right view, but that right view must be drawn with section cutting plane BB, which you can see over here. So for the front view, you're going to cut the shape down the middle and draw your front view there. But for the right view, they want it cut down that side there. So you'd cut through the shape and remove this front part over here, and then draw what you would see from the right in this direction here. And that right view, of course, will come on the right hand side here because this is third angle orthographic. So to start off with, we're going to start by going and drawing our top view, because the top view is an uncut view. So we're going to draw that, of course, over here above our XY line, and it is at scale 1:1, so we can take all of our measurements straight from what has been drawn here. So first of all, we can see that that's a length of 100 millimeters. Okay, I am going to make sure that I have my 10 millimeter gap between the start of my drawing and my XY line. So I'm going to add that in first, and then I can see that the length of that side is 100 millimeters, so I can draw that in dark straight away, because I can see that that's going to be a dark line. So let's start that off, 100 millimeters long. Okay, and then for my top view, I know that this is going to, of course, be a full rectangle with a height of 64. Okay, here in my top view, so I can go and draw that in so long. So I'm just going to do a construction line up here, and then go and draw in a line of 64 millimeters long. But note that that's 64 millimeters. I'm just going to leave that as a construction line for now, because of the fact that you can see here you've got a little circle in that view there, so there's going to be a part of that line left out. So I'm not going to draw it as a dark line yet. I've marked the 64, and then I'm just going to go and complete the rectangle. So that line there, and then the top line over here I can draw in as a dark line, because it will be completely dark for that top part of the rectangle. So we'll draw that in, and then we can also go and draw in this back line. That next line I'm drawing now, of course, is this line over here, which in your top view is just seen as one long line, even though it changes heights over there. From the top view, that 10 and that 44 plus this 10 over here would be seen as one straight line. So that would be this straight line over here. Okay, so that rectangle represents the outline now of my top view. And then to get the inside parts, we can see here there's a 10 millimeter gap here. And what a lot of people get confused with is this angle over here, okay, from your top view is going to be seen exactly the same as if it was flat. It would still be seen as a rectangle. The only thing in your top view, of course, that you're going to show is that little line over there, which shows that there's a change in level between those two faces. So you're going to draw this little part in here, 40 millimeters, and then the other part there. That length there from your top view, of course, will be 60, since the full length of your drawing there was actually 100. Okay, and we know that that whole part is 10 millimeters wide according to that measurement there. So I'm going to simply go and mark off 10 millimeters here, and then along that 10 millimeter line, I know I can draw a dark line straight across, because that, of course, represents this whole surface here. And then I need to add in that little line there at the 40 mil mark. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to measure 40 millimeters across, mark that, and then add in that line. That shows the point at which our surfaces then change from that flat surface down to that angled surface. But of course in the top view that angled surface is still just seen as a rectangle. Okay, so we've got that part over there done. Now these parts here, these are all just flat surfaces as well, which have to be drawn in, and they would look exactly like that shape does over there. We've just got to go and sort out the measurements. They don't seem to give us that measurement there, but we can clearly see that if over there is 10, then this will be 10 as well as that, and all of those surfaces there are going to be 10 millimeters wide. So we're going to go and start by drawing all of that in. We of course are going to go and measure then 10 millimeters over here. Okay, and then be careful now not to draw any dark lines yet. I suggest doing all of this in construction. There's a 10 millimeter line over there, and then we need to do a 10 millimeter gap over there. We're going to draw in another construction line here. Okay, and then we need a hole over here, and that hole is said to be 20 millimeters wide, so we're going to measure out 20 millimeters there for the hole, and then I'm going to mark the 10 millimeter gap as well, and we're going to do 2 construction lines for that. Okay, so we've got all those construction lines in, and then there's another 10 millimeter little piece over there. So I'm just going to go and do a construction line for that as well, and add in a 10 millimeter construction line there. And now that I've got all those construction lines done, I'm now can go and draw in some dark lines. The last thing, of course, sorry, that I need to do is measure out that 60 millimeters to see where the ends of those are. So let's just measure out that 60. Okay, we're going to measure out the 60 there, mark it off, and then put in a construction line there to know where those would have ended. Okay, now we can go and draw in a whole bunch of dark lines for that to complete that shape. So first of all, the 2 end lines there, which was the distance of 60 millimeters away. Okay, that line there, and then we're going to draw in this little piece here. Comes up until there, and then we've got this line coming down and that line coming in over there, so we're going to draw that in. Got that line coming down, and then we have a line that comes in over here. Okay, and then of course we've got our hole, so let's go and draw in the inside part of that hole. And then we've got this line that goes all the way until it hits that surface, so we can draw that dark all the way in till it hits into that surface over there, and all the way in till it hits into that surface over there. Okay, so you can clearly now see that we've now got that nice shape over there. We've got that in over there. Okay, so that part's done. Now we're going to have a look here. Now you see here you've got another surface which is at an angle. But again, in your top view, any surface that's an angle is still just going to look like a rectangle. So over here we actually just need a dark line, which is going to represent that line there. Okay, so we can go and draw that in. Okay. Now, next part, this flat piece over here, that flat surface, and then the circle. Now, of course, this flat surface over here, you're not going to see the height in your top view. You're just going to see it as a flat surface there. We just need to go and add in that circle. And according to this, that circle over there is centered on this rectangle over here. So this length here was 64 minus that 10, so that now puts it at 54. So our center point of 54 is of course going to be 54 divided by 2, and 54 divided by 2 is 27 millimeters. So I'm going to go and measure and mark off 27 millimeters, and that is then the center point of that circle that I have to draw. And then they've said here that the diameter of the circle is 34 millimeters. So I'm going to take my compass, and of course I'm going to put my compass on half of that. So 34 divided by 2 is 17. So I'm going to place my compass on 17 millimeters, and then I am going to place it on my center point over there, and I'm going to go and draw in my half a circle. which of course I know can be dark. Okay, and then I can go and draw in the lines which you would see joining up to that half a circle. Okay, that little line over there, and then of course our other lines, other line, which would be over here. Okay, and that then gives us our complete top view. The only thing, of course, that you mustn't forget, please, is that whenever we have circles, we go and draw in center lines. So I'm going to add in a center line that way, as well as a little center line this way, just for that circle. Okay, so we can indicate that that's a circle in that top view. Okay, so that completes our top view. Now, from our top view, we need to move to our sectional front view, and we're going to use that top view to help us with the sectional front view by taking each of the lines that we've now got in that top view, and we're going to project those lines down into our front view, also the edge of the circle. It's important. Okay, we're going to take each of those lines, we're going to project them down. Okay, there's another one over here for that. Okay, those two are meant to be in line. That one. Okay, I'm a little bit off over here. Those two lines there and there are meant to be in line with each other. Okay, so I'm only going to take the one down. Now, once you've taken all those down, over here you need to work with the height of your front view. So we're still going to put our 10mm gap in, because we always have to have a 10mm gap between our XY line and our next view. So there's my 10mm gap. And then I'm going to go and check what the full height is of my front view. Now, if you have a look here from what you've been given, there's 30mm up here, and then if you go along on this level, there's another 20mm to the top. So the total height of my shape is 50mm. So I know that I can go and measure out here 50mm, and I can go and draw a line then at the bottom here, and I know that my entire front view is going to fit into that space. Okay, then of course with my front view, I'm drawing a sectional front view. Now, because it's a sectional front view, they've actually been very kind to us here, and they've given us a little auxiliary view to help us to see what that sectional front view would look like. But also, that little view that they've given us can also be slightly confusing, because it shows as if there's no line over here where that circle gap is, and as if there's no line over here either, which, if we're looking from that direction, is not actually the case. You are actually going to see a line there and there, because you can see that little back arc, and you can see the back part of this surface here. So just be careful of that. So at the start, we're going to be able to draw a dark line all the way across the bottom, despite the fact that it looks like you won't see anything there once it's cut through. You are still going to see the back curved part of the circle. So we are going to have to include a line all the way across there, which is dark. And then over here, even though we're cutting right through the middle here, we are still going to be able to see a 30mm line going up to there, and we're also going to see that 20mm line. So we can have a dark line all the way to the top over here. And then of course we're cutting through the middle here, so that won't affect this back part at all, so we can draw that whole back part in. Okay, so we've already projected that down, so we don't have to do any measurements there. We can just draw that across. We do, however, need the height of 10mm on the side there. So we're just going to mark that off, because that's where our angled line will go to, and we can then draw in that angled line. And then of course that 10mm line going down as well, that is also still going to be there, because that's all part of that back surface over there, and that doesn't get cut at all. We're simply cutting through here. And now also, because we're cutting through here, we're going to see that little surface there, and that little surface won't be cut at all. Okay, you can see it over there. So we're going to draw that in as well. And I'll just check our height here. That's 30 millimeters to that point, which means this entire surface there is 30 millimeters high. So I'm going to measure 30 millimeters up to get the height of that whole surface in my front view. And I'm just going to project a nice construction line across there, 30 millimeters up. Now I know that's the height of all of these pieces. And then this piece over here, of course, is in line with this in my top view. So I've already got those two lines projected down. All I need to do now is project the height of that surface across over here, which is 10 millimeters up. And then I can simply go and join these 2 points, which will give me that nice little angled line. That'll give me my little angled line over there, which is this one over here. Okay, and then of course I can see that going up and across, so I can draw that in dark as well. I'm going to see that, and you can see that you're going to see that line there, plus this little front part over there. So I can draw that all the way across till there, and then I'm going to see that little top piece there as well. So I can draw that in, and you can see here I've now left this open because of course that's my hole. But now be careful now with the hole. Okay, it does show that the hole goes all the way to the bottom. Okay, but so we're going to see the hole here. You can see it just following my projection line going down. There's going to be the hole, which you can now see because we've cut away this front part over here. But you will see that line there, because this line over here is over there on that back face. Okay, it's down the bottom over here, down the bottom there. There's still a line over there. Okay, so even though you've cut this front part off, you're still going to see a line at the back, so that line must still be drawn in. Be very careful of missing that line. Okay, then of course we said that this little surface over here isn't cut, but of course everything else on the inside here will be cut, so we don't draw anything else in here. And then we've got a line that's meant to come across there, and that of course will still be there. But now again over here on this corner, you're cutting through that circle over there, which means that you're going to see the inside part of that circle, which it shows you here. So there's the edge of my circle. I must bring a dark line down, which will then indicate there as to where the back of my circle is. But I definitely still am going to see this little surface here, because that little surface there is this back curve over here. Now, despite that it looks like a curve in my top view, from my front view that curve is going to look like a rectangle. But it hasn't been cut, so we'll leave it open over there. Okay, we won't section it at all, but those lines have to be in there because that curve will still look like a rectangle from my front view. Now that I've got that view complete, I now need to go and take my 45-degree set square, and I'm going to go and put in my section lines. And because I'm sectioning quite a big space, I can have a decently big gap between these section lines. Okay, remember, don't go anything over about 7 millimeters apart, but also try and make sure that you keep those section lines equally spaced. But we're going to use big gaps between them so that we don't waste time in our drawing. If you've done yours with small gaps, it's fine, but just remember for next time, don't make the gaps too small. You're wasting precious time when doing that. Okay, so there is our cut surface. That is the part that has been cut through, which you can clearly see here in this nice little auxiliary view that they gave us on the side there. But remember that that line has to be in there, as well as this little piece over here. Very, very important for that sectional front view. Now we're going to go to the sectional right view over here. And for that I'm going to go and extend this XY line. And then I'm also going to go, and remember I need my 10 millimeter gap between my views. So I'm going to go and draw that in as well. And draw a dark line in there for that 10 millimeter gap. And then of course my 45-degree line. Now be careful, because you're drawing in third angle orthographic, your top view is at the top, front view is there, your right view goes here, right next to your front view. Okay, right next to your front view on the right hand side for third angle orthographic. So my 45-degree line has to go there at the top. And of course I'm going to use that 45-degree line now to go and project across and down to help me with this sectional left and right view over here. Okay, so before I even look at what I'm going to cut here, I'm going to go and project my lines across, which I know will be able to help me with my right view. So I'm going to go and project each of those surfaces across. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to project each of these lines across onto my 45-degree line. And then the only one that I'm going to project down for now is going to be the very far one over here, just so that I can get the edge to show where this drawing is actually going to stop. I'm not going to project the others yet, because otherwise you can get yourself slightly confused. Okay, so we've got that in. We also need our 10mm gap, so we can also project this line down, because that's our 10mm gap. So we now know that our full right view has got to fit into this space here, because that's where it ends from your top view there, and this is where it would start, also projected across and down from your top view. So my sectional right view's got to go there. Now for my sectional right view, they've given me a cutting plane BB, which means that this whole piece over here underneath my set square, that's now going to be cut off along that cutting line that you can see over there. And we're going to cut that away, and then we're going to draw what we're going to see from that side there in the direction my pen's facing. That will be our sectional right view. So we're going to take away all of this, so that circle won't be drawn at all. That's cut off. None of this part of here is going to be drawn. It's all going to be cut off. All we're going to draw is what this little piece over here that is left would actually look like. And we're going to use our view over here to be able to help us with it. The cutting plane, okay, BB, would go through over there somewhere. Okay, that's where it would go through. So we're going to cut away all of this part on the left hand side here in our top view. So let's have a look at how that's going to work now. If we cut away everything here, we're still going to see the outside frame of this drawing. Okay, so we're still going to be able to see that outline, that 10mm line there, the 20mm down, that line across and down there. So we can already draw that in dark. And to get that, we're going to take these lines that we've projected across onto the 45 and now project them down, because there's my 10mm gap here. I don't have to redraw that. I can simply project that down, and then I can project down. Am I going to need this line here? No, not at all, because this has been cut off. So I'm not even going to project that down. It's not necessary, because remember my cutting line's over there. So everything on this side's gone. I don't even need that projection line. Okay, am I going to need this projection line here? Yes, I will, because that part is still going to, some of it's still going to be shown. So I'll project that down. Okay, now we can go and draw in, as I say, this outline over here. And you can see that the top part there, that line there, which is this line over here, that if we project it across and down will be this line over here. So I can draw that in dark already. And then we're going to go 20mm down, which takes us to the level of all of this, which we can see here, which is projected across. So we don't need to measure anything there. We're simply going to project that line straight down until it hits that level there. And then we know we're going to be able to see this line and the line going straight down. So that will be the line going all the way from there, all the way across, right to the very edge, because it's that line to the edge, and then our 30mm line down right onto the bottom. Okay, so we know we can see all of that. And then of course, even though it's been cutting through a hole over here, we're still going to be able to see that full baseline. Remember, the same thing that we had over here. Despite the fact that it cuts through a hole here, we're going to be able to see the back part of that hole. And that back part's still got a baseline. It goes all the way to the bottom. So we are still going to go and draw in that line going all the way across dark. And then we will of course still see this line right here on the edge as well to finish that off, the outline of our sectional right view. Now, what are we going to see on the inside? Well, what's been cut through? Well, we've cut through this whole piece over here. Okay, so this whole little edge over here, which is this face here, okay, that's been cut all the way down to the bottom. And because that's been cut all the way through, we're going to see a line here coming all the way down. Okay, on the which also shows us the inside line of that hole. So this line must continue all the way to the bottom, and then the other line which is we're going to see is this one here, because that's the other line of the inside of the hole. And because our cutting line went there, and we're now looking from that direction, we'll be able to see the inside line there of that hole. So we're going to take that straight down as well, all the way to the bottom over there. Okay, so that's now all we're going to see in that sectional right view, because all of this has been cut off, and the only parts that have been cut that we're going to put our section lines on are these two faces here. This inside part here hasn't been cut at all. Remember, it's at the back over here. That cutting line missed it completely. So we're only going to hatch this face and that one there, which the cutting plane actually cut through. So that's that face and that face. So we're going to go and draw in our 45-degree lines again. And remember, again, give yourself a decent space between each. It's not necessary to keep them too close. Even what I've done here is a bit close together. Anyway, there we go. Okay, so there we have it. That is now your sectional right view with this piece over here cut away.